Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are thrilled to have another fireside chat with the amazing Valerie Spiller. I am so excited to have you join us, Valerie. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Hello, everyone. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I can't wait for this conversation, everyone who's joined us today. I'm Anne-Marie Burton. I'll be facilitating this conversation with the amazing Valerie Spiller. It is yet another segment where we get to share with you some really insightful nuggets that you'd not get anywhere else. And Valerie, as our NGL winner, is full of them, from her experiences in this industry, experiences outside the industry. I cannot wait for you guys to meet Valerie, know Valerie. And as you all know, this is a highly interactive conversation. So we do hope that you will ask us questions in the chat feature. We have these conversations for you. So if you have any questions, you have any insights, please do use the Q&A. It says Q&A. Don't put them in the chat, because we won't be able to see them. But if you put them in the Q&A, we'll be able to get them. So again, welcome. We're going to kick it off with an introduction, and then we're going to start the conversation. Thanks for joining us today.
Valerie is extraordinary.
A great listener.
Mentor.
Caring.
Amazing.
When I think about her, she just speaks truth.
She is a leader, a trailblazer, and she aspires to excellence in the most wonderful way.
I'm the Senior Vice President of Production Finance at A&E Studios. I have done every position you can imagine when it comes to production. My role is of service to this industry.
Valerie Spiller enhances everything we do at A&E Studios, both internally as the leader of our production finance department and externally.
She's able to look in and say, well, who are we casting and who's working behind the camera?
When I first heard that Valerie was going to be nominated for the Next Generation Leader Award, I thought, it's about time. Valerie has been a leading voice for diversity and inclusion within our company. She exemplifies that every single day.
Getting acknowledged gave me a sense of validity that my champion for diversity and inclusiveness was being seen and heard, and just gave me so much of an honor and thrill.
It's hard to do this on your own. In fact, it's impossible. And so the more Valeries we have, the more we can have diverse and inclusive environments.
What inspires me to continue to advocate for others is that we're not there yet. For over 30 years, NAMIC has been committed to ensuring that there is diversity. Long before DEI was like a catchphrase, NAMIC was doing the work. When I started in this business, there were not many women in positions of power, and there certainly were not any Black women.
She definitely has paved the way for many of us, including myself.
What I offer to this industry is an expertise that leans on honesty. People appreciate you when you show your vulnerability to be who you are.
Val, I've known you for some time, and I couldn't be more proud to hear that you were getting this wonderful award.
I'm just so honored to know you, to have gotten to work with you, and I'm just so in awe of everything you've accomplished, and congratulations.
Valerie, I love you. You inspire so many of us. So thank you so much.
Not only are you a friend, but you're such a fantastic colleague.
Valerie, keep up the good work. This has been a phenomenal 2023.
Congratulations, Valerie. I'm so proud of you.
Congratulations, Valerie.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Val.
Congratulations to you, Valerie.
Congratulations, Valerie.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. I am so glad that we get to share you with all our members today, with all the 140 people that signed up for this webinar, and others who will be watching it on YouTube. Thank you, Valerie. We're so proud that you could come and have this conversation with us. Now, in the video, you tell us that, you've worked in every area of this industry. I have a feeling if I dedicated a segment just to that journey, we would need more than 4 hours, right? So in the best way possible, can you share with us your journey from your early days to your current role as VP of Productions and Finance at A&E Studios and Lifetime?
I will. And again, I want to thank everyone and thank you, Anne-Marie, for allowing me to speak with everyone. Let me just say, first and foremost, I'm watching that video, which has been a year now since that was done, which surprised me that everyone came to support me. But please take notice, it's not me, it's everyone, it's all of us. All of those people who spoke have been my mentors and have championed me, and there are dozens of others. The community that's in listening and supporting me now, I appreciate all of you just to take the time to listen to my story. We all have stories, and I feel honored that I'm even asked to share mine. So yes, I started out graduating from college with these lofty, great ideas because I was a theater major with my emphasis in acting and directing, that I was gonna, get into the business, and young and ready to go. I was gonna be a producer, director, and just conquer the world. In doing that, I had an opportunity just by chance, and things seem to have happened by chance often. In cashing checks from college, someone told me that they were hiring at 20th Century Fox and hiring temporary jobs. So off I went directly from leaving that bank and applied for a temp job, and I received that job. And let me just say, I got that job because a woman who was in charge in HR looked at me and said, "This young girl has no experience, but she's got the enthusiasm, and I have faith in her that she can maybe one day be a contributing effort to our company," hired me on the spot. And the
Wow,
following
that's
week, I
awesome.
started working as a temp. I remained as a temp for more than 11 months in advertising, cooperative advertising at that time, which was for the feature film division. So it gave me some experience of something I had no knowledge of, right? Again, going in wanting to be a director producer because that's what I knew. I didn't know there were other opportunities within that whole industry. After 11 months, I felt like, well, I'm not sticking on to what my initial goal was. Maybe I needed to go with a smaller company. And it so happened that Spelling Entertainment was on that lot. So I went over there, I asked questions, I reached out to people and relationships that I had connected with while I had been there for 11 months, and got an opportunity to speak with a couple of people, not just at Spelling, but at Universal and what have you. And again, I'm going to say most of those people who I spoke with were women. And those women said, well, we don't have anything, but as soon as we hear of something, we'll let you know. But this one woman who was in charge of payroll at Spelling Entertainment says, there is no big job here, but the assistant to the senior vice president of production finance is moving up, and there might be an opportunity for you to be an assistant. Back those days, they were secretaries. So I went in, cold call, went in. Well, not cold call because she actually, made a phone call for me, but they took a meeting with me. And really not having any skill sets to be an assistant or a secretary, they still took the leap of faith with me. I think it was my enthusiasm and maybe my being so naive about it. And that changed the trajectory of my career, because that man, John Nicolaitis, who was the senior vice president of production finance for Spelling Entertainment, saw something in me, knowing what my goals were to direct and produce, and said, you need to understand the finances of the industry if this is the direction you want to go. And literally proceeded to have me work in every category within Spelling Entertainment. And I stayed with them until 1998, when I thought it's time for me to clip my wings from them and go off into the freelance world and really learn something. Ended up not so much in freelance. I went to Polygram Television because they were starting a new division, a television division, and they wanted me to build their production finance department, which I did. Funny story though, the day I started, they let me know that Universal was going to take them over. So, had a year to figure it out. The upside of that is once the deal was closed with Universal, they determined, based on the role that I had and what I was doing with the company, they wanted me to be head of production. So I elevated from just being on the production finance side to being the head of production for Universal Television syndication. And so that's
Amazing.
how I started.
Amazing. You know what I love about your story is your enthusiasm, a bit of luck, a bit of blessings,
Absolutely.
talking to the right people, building networks,
Yes.
understanding that those relationships were critical, being bold enough and brave enough to chart your course because you didn't just say, okay, I'm here and I'm going to stay, but you took advantage of the opportunities that were given to you. So
Ab-
that's really, really cool. Tell me about the Bunny Murray reality. Yeah,
Bunim
yeah,
the Bunim. So let's talk about being at Universal for
yeah.
a minute. I'm head of production, busy times doing syndication, loving it, by the way. My daughter, who unfortunately is no longer with us, she passed away several years ago, but um, it was discovered during my tenure at Universal that she had a brain tumor. It's actually meningioma, which
Ooh.
is normally benign. Hers was malignant, um, which was not a good prognosis. That led me in desperation, certainly to save her life, to not renew my contract with Universal because I needed to care for her. And it took several months of radiation treatments and taking her to the hospitals and having the brain surgery and having the tumor removed and all of that. And it did give her more time. It gave her 5 years of mostly being normal. But after I had left that company and we got the, okay, she's green light, she can go back to school and try and live as normal a life as possible, I had to go back to work. So again, my angels, my connections, my relationships, um, person, Joe Giarusso, who was the CEO of Entertainment Partners, gave me a call and said, Valerie, Bunim Murray, which did Real World, as we all know, and all of the unscripted, they are actually the pioneers of unscripted television.
Mhm.
They are reconfiguring their company. They're looking to ensure that what they're doing spills over into the corporate side of things and really operating as a full studio. They did not have an organized production finance division, and asked me to come over. Or he introduced me to them to discuss kind of reforming their
Mhm.
division in production finance. So I was with them for 5 years and it was a wonderful experience. We built the company out on all levels, from production finance, creative, post-production, and they were already significant players in the business, but we helped to grow their company. And gave them a higher market share for sure. But within that time, Anne-Marie, my daughter, lived a lovely, wonderful life. But, 5 years later, as the doctors had predicted, it was time for her to go home to her father, meaning God, and
Yeah.
she passed away.
I'm so sorry, and I think,
Um,
whew.
yeah, so that led me to want to no longer be at Bunim Murray, not because Bunim Murray wasn't good to me, because they were fabulous to me, but the memories and the time, I just needed to get a clean break. That's just the way I manage and handle things. And so I decided to part ways with them. We are still friends today. I still have strong relationships with all of them. But again, I had an opportunity and someone came to me and said, there is a great opportunity for you to go to ABC Studios because they have a budgeting and estimating department who has a stellar person there by the name of Lori Stevenson. I have to give her props because she's brilliant. But she's getting married and moving to Washington and can no longer do this. And she has just started building out the division. They hired me. Barry Jostin hired me, who's now the president of A&E
Mhm.
Studios. And I had the good fortune to be just on the precipice when ABC Studios was growing leaps and bounds. I'm sorry. They had Lost, they had Grey's Anatomy, they had Desperate Housewives. Shonda came along. and just built out ABC Studios. So when I went in charge of all the budgeting and estimating division, production finance from that standpoint, and wearing a finance executive hat, they had a couple of shows. By the time I left, they were doing 23 series and 27 pilots a season that I was overseeing. I implemented the whole tax incentive grid, looking at it, trying to find better areas and efficiencies on where we might shoot. When I came into the company, they shot in the United States. By the time I left the company, we were shooting all over the world because we were capturing the tax incentives. Again, women and mentors who supported me, lifted me up, gave me validation to do and think outside the box, and gave me all the support that was needed. So I stayed with them for 9.5 years until I got a call from Barry Johnson, who had left the company as president, and wanted to know if I wanted to be engaged with helping build out the production finance division for the A&E Studios department. And that's where I met Sean Murtaugh, who is currently my boss and a wonderful mentor as well, and boss. And we've been collaborating now for over 9 years to build out the studio. That's kind of the journey.
What a journey, Valerie, and one of so many highs and some, I think, devastating lows, quite frankly.
Absolutely.
And sorry, on behalf of all of us, on behalf of all that's going on in the chat right now, we're terribly sorry for your loss. And thank you for sharing such an intimate part of who you are. But I do know that such a loss shapes who you become in so many ways. Right? There are things that are just that cataclysmic in life, and they can shape how you become. So ironically, my next question then becomes to you, what are the most significant challenges and experiences that have shaped your outlook and achievements today? Yeah.
Well, I can honestly say, Anne Marie, that one of the major challenges coming into this business at the time, which was in the 90s, as a woman, certainly as a Black woman, the challenge was being considered equal to men who were at the helm of the business. And again, I'll preface it. My mentor who started me into this business, John Nicolaitis, was a prize. He was wonderful. But I did run across others that were not so open-minded, right? Or progressive, if you will.
Right.
So that was a challenge because I had to prove myself. Just walking in the door, I had to prove myself. It wasn't a given to me, right? So I felt I had to really know. I had to be a subject matter expert in any and everything that I did. And that's fine, and that's great. And I carry that proudly, that I do have the expertise. It's taken years for me to have that confidence, and to be able to share that confidence and not feel that I should hide it, right?
Yeah.
It's funny, just on little nuances on some of the challenges. I'll give you an example, what we're going through right now and that we're seeing, and it resonates with me because there's been the whole Kamala Harris and her laugh, right? I used to get that all the time. Why do you laugh so loud? You're loud when you laugh. I've had people come to my office and say, Val, you're laughing so loud. But truly, that's who I am. That's who my family is. And it took me to get literally in my 50s before I was like, I'm okay with that though. I think it's a gift that I have because I bring joy and I'm authentic, right? I'm bringing joy, I'm bringing love, in terms of where someone might think it as an obstacle, I use it as one of my superpowers. So for me, getting over it is hard work and being okay with having to do the hard work, because we all should do the hard work, right?
Correct.
This is what we're burdened with. So, just do it. Just do the work, move on. You will get acknowledged at the time that is right for you. And that's been important for me. And it's really important to tap into those people who are your cheerleaders, because people do want to see you succeed. And I've been very fortunate to have people be my cheerleader. And I think part of that, Anne Marie, is because I try to be authentic and I've been true to myself and having myself. So
let me ask a little bit about the cheerleaders, right?
yes.
And I think sometimes, Valerie, when we have these conversations, because of our present time,
Yes.
because of what we are seeing, I think some of us might forget just how difficult what you're describing is. Like when you're kind of pioneering,
Yes.
it's a hard place to be, right? And how do you, right, I truly understand the whole trying to grapple with, then what's wrong with my laugh? I completely get that. I have my own examples of that, right? Or when people take that thing, I mean, it's just called dealing with people. I think that is, I put that in
Yes.
the dealing
Yeah,
with people bucket of
absolutely.
life,
Right,
right?
right, right.
What I'm trying to get at is when do you really know who those cheerleaders are, and not just the frenemies, if anything, or those that may not truly be in your corner? Like, how did you identify your cheerleaders? Because sometimes that can be tricky. And the reason I say that is because you've made a clear distinction between mentors, cheerleaders, network. As you've been telling your story, you're very clear on how you're categorizing them in your life. When
Absolutely.
it came to their cheerleaders, how do you identify who those are, and how do you leverage them? Because they're very different from mentors.
Yeah, they are very different from mentors. A mentor is going to give you guidance, right? You someone you can go and you can talk to, and you know, I'm challenged with this. Can you give me some advice? Those people are mentoring you. They're giving you their life experience or their work experience, and they're sharing with you and giving you tools. A cheerleader is someone who is, you're in a work environment, you're doing the work, you have let's just say you're in a room and you presented something. You presented a argument, a document, an analysis. And the person to the right of you is telling everyone in the room that you've done this work and how well you presented that work and the efforts that you put in this work. That's your cheerleader. Your cheerleader is the one who is announcing to all those who can help you or support you to know that I've got faith in this person and I want you to acknowledge the work that that person has done. Those are cheerleaders to me.
I love that. I wanted us to tease that out because we get this in a lot of our conversations. And I think it's so key to establish those differences. And I love how you're sharing the various roles that the different individuals play in supporting your growth at the various stages of your career. So now let's kind of go to awards and recognitions. I know you've been getting a lot of awards lately, and well-deserved, and congratulations. Can you tell us about your role as co-president of Couples, right? And the impact of this organization on promoting healthy marital relationships.
Absolutely. Something that I'm very, very proud of. It's an organization that's actually been around for 34 years now. I have not been part of it for 34 years. But it was established by two doctors, a doctor of psychology and an OBGYN. They happen to be a couple, they're married. Actually, I apologize. There were two couples that did that. The other couple was also a physician. The wife was a homemaker. And these two couples are actually still in the organization, still active, and been married over 60 plus years, I believe. And they felt there was a need to form a group that was focusing on the institution of marriage and keeping that marriage vital. They use African proverb of Sankofa, of reaching back, because as you are in your marriage and your relationships, as you grow individually and as a couple, you tend to forget some of the things that inspired you or made you fall in love with the person that you married. This organization is laser focused on making certain that couples remember what made them fall in love with each other and do the work to keep that spark alive. Now, realities, we have work, we have children, we have ups and downs, losses, things change. But with this organization, every year, in order to be into this organization, you have to go on a retreat with a psychiatrist who is the facilitator. So you've got 20 couples that are going to a lovely place. We might go to Jamaica or just as close as being in Westlake Village here, but at a hotel that you're gone for the weekend and you're doing work from early in the morning till late in the evening. Well, not late in the evening, late afternoon on the marriage and what that looks like. We go through exercises. What happens at the retreat stays at the retreat. It's between the couples. We don't share with the outside world what conversations ensue, because they can be pretty tough conversations. It's separated between male, female, or the spouses, however they're separated, husband, wife, however it's separated. And then we come together as a group and we go through exercises. Then in the evening, we get together, we have dinner, we have fun, and we do this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, leaving at the end of the weekend on Sunday. We leave with lessons, with exercises, with homework on how to maintain and keep our marriage alive and have conversations. And then throughout the year, we do things like couples cook, where the couples have to cook a dish together and bring it to someone's home, and we all discuss how the meal was prepared, what was involved with that. We do outings. We just did a group where we did tango lessons. We just do things to keep the marriage exciting, just once a month with all us within the group. I, as a co-president, because my husband and I, everything is my husband and I were co-presidents. So, of course, we are in charge in organizing. And interesting thing, during COVID, we couldn't not get together. So we'd have Zoom meetings. And my husband is a writer and used to do plays. So he actually came up with a play and had all the couples give them parts. And they did a play through Zoom. At the end of it, we ordered these little mini Oscars, and we literally drove to every couple's home to give them Oscars for the best contributor or whatever. So, those kind of fun things that we do. So it's been very great for us, and our dear friends got us involved with couples because we had lost our daughter and we were in a very dark place, and they wanted to ensure that, we kept our marriage, because it can be really difficult when you lose a child. And it was cathartic for us, and it certainly bonded us to be even closer. So,
wow,
ever
Valerie,
indebted to couples.
I love the spark in your eyes when you talk about this initiative, and I can just see the joy. And what I love about it as well is a lot of times we talk about work and finding fulfillment, and then the other things that give us meaning, the glue that keeps you going. And I can see what this is to you and what it has meant to you as soon as you started talking about it. I'm kind of glad it was the segue.
I'm glad it was. Thank you. Thank you. I love sharing it. I mean, in fact, we've got some very impressive people in the organization. We've got directors and filmmakers and doctors and attorneys. Everyone is you'd be very impressed. So, we've toyed with the idea of putting together some type of show or production, or, I mean, the couples who originated have been in Essence magazine. I mean, it's a pretty significant organization.
Awesome. No, thank you. I will pick your brain about that after this. I'm very
absolutely.
intrigued on a personal level.
We need to have it nationally, like we do with NAMIC, right?
Exactly. We can do a NAMIC, chapter thing. How about that? So let's talk about D&I, and especially, I don't know if you've seen this, but there's just a lot of chatter about D&I today. There's a lot of chatter about removing D and only keeping I. I mean, there's just a lot going on in this space, and I think this conversation continues to evolve, sometimes in ways that make me chuckle. That's why I'm laughing. And you've been a steward. You've been a champion for D&I. I mean, your story being the first, having these women really thinking through that lens, your story, even the video. Everybody talked about how you're a champion for D&I. What kind of initiatives, since, like, let me pick one, let's say diversity behind the camera, right?
Yes,
Or
yes.
the diversity supplier
Champion,
initiative.
yes.
Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I am fully committed to DEI, just by being a Black woman, right?
Enough said.
Enough said. Enough said. But A&E Networks is a phenomenal company, as is NAMIC. And they walk the talk. They
Yes.
walk the talk. It is part of our DNA that we are part of DEI and will continue to be part of DEI to the point that it impacts how you are reviewed and received in terms of employment, in terms of bonuses. It has to be part of who you are, who we are as the company. And what I love about that is the commitment from the top down.
Mm.
And we are all committed to it. I am involved with the diversity supplier. I'm a champion of that. That means that I am in the group that heads that and gets everyone involved throughout our industry, our company industry, that we look at other companies that are diverse, and that is a requirement. We have a percentage that we are required to achieve, and every year it goes up. Every year there's a percentage increase on how inclusive we are with our vendors, from advertisers, for us in production, whether it be from engaging with caterers or cameras or any type of equipment. And even to the point, Anne-Marie, that we're looking at agents, right? Because you hear the big CAAs and the William Morris, and they've been around and they're wonderful. There are smaller, diverse agencies that don't get that opportunity and don't have that highbrow talent, but we need to give them an opportunity and give that, I call it, let's level the playing field. Let's just level the playing field. That's my effort. DEI is leveling the playing field.
Right.
I do that as well in looking how we hire people, right? As well as the company, right? I mean, it's a phenomenal company in terms of how we look, even from a hiring standpoint. We are take through some rigorous requirements on who we're looking at, and we always have to consider the diversity inclusive component of that. So we have several ERG that within our organization. I'm on quite a few, maybe too many sometimes, but I'm passionate about it, and I love doing it. But it does take work from everybody, right? So what I say to everyone is just do it. Just do it.
Yeah, just do it. I love that. When you think about DEI and its impact, let's just take A&E, because as you said, there are numerous initiatives, and I'm glad to see that you guys are increasing that number in terms of you're not you're not following the trends, let me put it that way, where there seems to be a lot of confusion about that. What has been the ROI on your bottom line as a company to show that really says, because a lot of times, a company is in the business of making money.
Sure.
And initiatives have to show that they do yield that profit margin, that they're making money.
Right.
And for those who may be arguing and saying, well, we have to cut, we are seeing a lot of companies cutting a lot of their DEI departments, right? We're seeing Sharon is a really good example. It's been in the news, the Society for Human Resource Managers saying, oh, we're just going to remove D and we're going to keep the I, right? For companies that are going down this track, what advice would you give to those companies, especially given the impact you're seeing at A&E?
Yeah, so it's always interesting to me because, again, to your point, this is a business and it's all about making the bottom line, right? Hitting your margins. But look at the numbers. When you have diversity, you do make the numbers. We are a diverse nation. And, you know, I've heard for years, Anne Marie, I used to advocate years and years ago, you know, let's consider a diverse creative project. I would get, well, you know, these things don't do well internationally. It's always disproved though. It's the pioneer, it's the person who's going to be brave enough to go forward with it and see and take that chance to have the diversity that is really just a smart business move. The numbers are there. Look at the numbers and just, again, this sounds like a simplified response that I'm giving you, but when I say just do it, I really mean just do it. Look at the numbers and just do it. This company is a very smart company. They understand and they see the success that can be had by being inclusive and having diversity and equity. And we're doing it and we're successful, even in the midst of contractions within the linear streaming industry that we are now in. This is going to keep us ahead of the game. I really believe that. So
fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. And you all had it from the lady who knows finances, right? So she knows the bottom line, right? Let's talk about culture. This is huge for me because one of the things you talked about was from the top down.
Yes.
So as a senior member of the management team, how do you foster collaboration among various business segments and then within leaders within A&E? Because it's a culture. You're helping to frame and build a culture. How do you do that?
Yeah, so you know, it's again, it comes down to communication, obviously, right? And reaching out within all our various divisions and departments. It's really a responsibility from senior management to encourage those that are working within your group and around you to reach out within the other areas and divisions to collaborate and come up with more innovative ideas. By doing this, you find more efficiencies, you create innovation, you help in the growth of the organization. So for me, you know, I might just find someone interesting. Maybe it's just a personality thing and what they're doing. And I will make a phone call or I'll get on the Teams and I'll say, hey, I'm really interested in what your area is and would love to learn more about it. Is there an opportunity for us to get together and have a coffee? Can you tell me and can you share? And, you know, clue to everyone. Everyone loves to talk about themselves and what they do. And so you learn from that. You really do. You learn from that. And when you ask that question, be focused on that person. Ask them the question and listen to what they're having to say. Listen to them with very active ears of what they're saying to you and glean those pearls of wisdom that they're giving you and let them know that you would love to have some opportunity to collaborate them in any type of way that would enhance not just what you're doing, but within the organization. So, you know, that's usually my approach. Again, I have great people that I work with that we put our minds and heads together with. And I think that's also about being accessible.
I love that because you actually answered a question that we just got in the Q&A where somebody said, what advice do you have for someone who desires to transition into a new role at the same company? And I think you just answered that question very well. You know,
listen, you know, it's interesting. And this is something that I have learned, you know, when you're younger, particularly, and I'm speaking to the younger generation, you know, you might be a little trepidatious about reaching out to who you glean is, you know, in a position of power or hierarchy. We're all human beings. Just remember that. And for the most part, people are just open, right? To share, as I am now, my journey to share with you what they do. And happy to support you if you are showing them your enthusiasm and your commitment. People want to see you succeed. And if you run across someone who doesn't, move on, go find somebody else, because there'll be more people that will want to than people who won't. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. I do have a question from Fred
yes.
who says, how can people at any level of the industry contribute to the DEI of their organizations?
Oh, there's so many opportunities within DEI or ERGs that we have certainly at our company. But at any company, you literally just find out who's in charge of the particular DEI effort that you're interested in and reach out to them. They would love for you to come and help and volunteer. We're always looking for people to join our efforts. So just pick up that phone or
Ask,
send
ask,
that
ask.
email, whatever your mode of communication is, right?
Definitely ask, definitely ask. So Terry has slightly different question. She says, you're married to a writer. What do you wish film/TV writers or aspiring writers knew about production financing?
That when you're writing something and you're in your creative head, as my husband gets in his creative head, understand that at the end of the day, you might have a wonderful creative idea, but it's going to all come down to how much it costs. So when you're creating or you building those worlds, know who your audience is and who you're trying to push that or pitch that to. Don't have a great idea that's got this huge world or lots of visual effects and what have you, and you want to submit this to a small company who's you're going to scare them off just at the mere fact that you're talking about maybe $100 million budget and they've got like 20 million. So, when you're creating, think about cost if you can at all do that. And if you can't, get somebody to collaborate with you and talk to you about that idea and what that looks like financially.
Awesome. Awesome. Let me ask about where we are currently. From your vantage point, what are some of the current challenges the industry faces, and how is A&E, the A&E network adapting to some of these changes?
Well, as we all know, the business is in a state right now that we're all struggling financially, right? With the advent of streaming, which has changed the whole business model for us,
Yeah.
and so many platforms, the business is contracting. It is, and from being hybrid and I'm going to give credit to Danielle Green right now because we just had a conversation earlier about this about the being a hybrid of linear and streaming. We've got to look at better efficiencies on how to cut costs, right? What does that look like? I will tell you, we've been looking for that silver bullet as long as I've been in this industry. How can we do more for less? How can we make it bigger, but it doesn't cost as much? How can we find a project that's going to be a huge hit, but it's low cost? Those are few and far between, but it being in finance or production finance and collaborating with the creatives, which is the question you just asked me, how can we look at a project or projects or anything that we're doing in media that we can find efficiencies where we can cut some of those costs, right? Again, we are, we've seen what's going on at Paramount. There's been layoffs everywhere. And so, we're being asked to do more with less. And that's because ad sales are diminishing. I mean, just the whole industry is changing. And so we do and will have to look at different models on how we can best achieve our goals to continue to create great content, but at a cheaper price point. So for me, that's when I'm looking at what various countries that have a tax incentive, or even in the United States, that's going to allow us to net down to a lower number to produce a production that we normally would not have that opportunity to do. so we have to just constantly be looking at those different opportunities.
I like that. I actually now understand something better about the going global initiative. It really is exactly what technology did a few years ago. They figured
Absolutely.
out where they could go and produce things at the lowest cost for the highest return. So it's
Absolutely.
just part of that evolution of industry, and that seems to be happening. I have 3 questions that I kind of want to go through. Let's see quickly. I've been working from home since COVID. Any suggestions on networking and relationship building virtually?
Yeah, it's wonderful that it's wonderful. I hope for you that you can work from home. We're still have the opportunity again at this fabulous company that I work for, that we are still given the choice to work hybrid. We are not required to come into the office 5 days a week. It's tremendously satisfying for me. Others maybe not, but for me it is. But I have found that utilizing this tool, Zoom or Teams or FaceTime, gives you great opportunity because you don't have to get up, get out and drive and put on a full outfit or what have you, and you can see the person and have a conversation. So networking, I do lunches on my Teams and Zoom, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll have my sandwich, I'll have my water, we'll have a conversation, we'll talk, and it's like easy. So that's what I recommend.
Right. Yeah. You work with what's working with the individuals you're trying to reach out to. And I think
Absolutely.
that's also another part of the evolving workplace where we always thought that you had to be at the happy hour or you had to be at the lunch table. The table has shifted to a virtual
Table
table,
has
but you
shifted.
can still leverage that. So thank you for that. I do have Jeff, I just kind of want to say, I think she has answered your question. Jeff was asking, when do you think production will pick up again? Feels like there's a big shift going on right now.
Yeah. Well, so production has picked up for unscripted. It hasn't really impacted that a lot. Production for scripted, and I'm guessing you're speaking to that because we did have strikes, and well, we had COVID, and then we had the strikes, and then the possible impending strikes, which slowed things down and made the bigger companies kind of hold off and trying to just wait and see where we're going to end up. I'm happy to say I think all of that's behind us now. I certainly expect by January, things will start picking up again. So just give it a little bit more time. I think it's going to pick up.
Awesome. Thank you. I have a question from Chris who says, what do you suggest for finding the balance between the company's DEI program that is in place versus the view your state government is implementing? This is a very interesting question. So
So
what's
make it more
happening in the
clear.
workplace versus what's happening at the state level with DEI?
So can you explain to me what you mean by what's happening at the state level with DEI?
Yeah. Not even knowing what state this may
Yeah.
be in and what the politics of that is. That's really tricky, Chris. There's so much going on in different states as it relates to DEI and whatever the leadership may be doing. That is so tricky to do. But if I may take the liberty to respond to this question, I truly believe in controlling the controllable. And what that means is you control what you can. You do what you can. And if the things are beyond your area of influence, then you really can't control that. But if you're in your company, you can go to the DEI department, you can go to the various groups and you can get involved. But at the state level, unless you're really looking at lobbying or perhaps engaging in some sort of other activities, that is really broad for us to extrapolate on this call. So happy to discuss this with you offline. You
Absolutely. Please reach out.
reach out and we can get into a more deeper specific conversation. But I think that's really broad right now. So, but thank you for the question. And we want to engage with you. I'm not avoiding it. I just want to make sure that we answer your question without speaking in so many generalities, if that's
Yeah,
okay with
Chris,
you.
maybe on the sidebar, we can, happy to get on a call, and
Yeah.
we can just kind of do a deeper dive into that question.
Exactly. Thank you, Chris. I saw it. I saw your response. Thank you. And then Talia is asking, how can we reach out about assisting with the DEI group? And I think you addressed that, which is just really email, call, use Teams.
Well, yeah. Well, don't email Paul. But if you're at A&E within our organization, there are leaders of each of our ERG groups, that I know for the our Black ERG, and I hope I'm not, putting her name out here and that she won't appreciate, but Kirby Dixon, you can reach out to Kirby Dixon for the our Black movement. Again, just we have a roster where you can look and see who's the leaders of the various ERG committees. Trinice Perkins for the women's organization. And if you're not with A&E, and with a different company, I'm sure your HR division can give you those names of the people who are leading them, and you can reach out to them directly.
Great response, Valerie. Thank you. Well, this one's pretty tough. Not sure how we want to take this, but it says often creatives are able to identify the genre of project studios that the project studios are seeking, but are there any resources where you may be able to identify the budgets each studio has projected?
No, I'll say that real quickly. No, we
Okay.
one, I mean, you can go on IMDb and various sites that will tell you what something that has already been made cost, or give you a range. You can Google that. But if there's projects within the organizations, say A&E Studios, if we're looking to do a project and have a budget, we don't share that information. So that's just proprietary. We can't share that information.
Thank you. And then Charles is asking, what advice would you give directors and writers who want to be well-versed in understanding of finance within film without pursuing an actual finance job?
Yeah. There's all kind of opportunities to get books that you can read, entertainment partners. You can go look into entertainment partners on how they operate, from how they service companies, production companies. They have budgeting classes, scheduling classes that are minimally minimal cost for you. But there's certainly various publications that you can just get a book and read without you having to get a degree in finance or anything like that. I don't even have a degree in finance.
Thank you for that. We have about 3 minutes. Can you believe that? 3 minutes. Time just flew by. And I want to make sure that we get to at least one question, and then we get to the rapid fire questions, which everybody loves. So everybody, we're almost there, I promise you. Valerie, can you share a memorable moment or turning point in your career that significantly influenced your professional journey?
Oh yeah, I have a few, but when I was at Spelling Entertainment, I was working on a show, and I was the lead production accountant, and it was really my first opportunity to be the lead production accountant. But the unit production manager was a woman, and we became fast friends because I'd have to communicate with her on budgets and what have you. But the first assistant director and one of the producers, who were male, knew it was my first time out and kind of gave me a hard time. They were really making me doubt my skill set, and even if I should be there, sort of like, you're really not welcome here. Why are you here? It was devastating for me. I was, I don't even think I couldn't have been more than 22 years old. And I went to her literally in tears and just was like, I don't think I can do this. I'm just gonna quit. I'm not gonna, and she like, sweetheart, sit down. And she had a heart-to-heart talk with me, and as a woman, right? And just really shared with me her journey. She was tough. But she was smart. She was brilliant. And I just adored her. I really looked up to her. And she just encouraged me and told me, you are valuable. You are really, really smart. I mean, look how far you've come at this young age. Don't you dare quit. Don't you let these men diminish your light, because you're going to go places. And trust me, you don't want to leave, because you'll be at one point in your life later in your career where people will be coming to you and asking you for advice. Now, who could have even imagined that that would come true? I interpret it completely different than the way my life has turned out. You know,
Mhm.
do come to me and ask for advice, not like in my mind what I was thinking, but certainly from, well, Val, what do you think from a standpoint of the financials, or what this looks like from a budgetary standpoint? That's the advice people come and ask me about, right? And that's part of the green lighting process. So that gives you a sense of you're included in that whole circle of having a seat at the table, because they're not going to green light anything without knowing that it's been vetted and gone through myself and my team expertise to give them the information they need to make a qualified, intellectual, profitable decision in order to get something on the air. So
I love that. I think we've all had those moments, Val, and we always needed that one person who just shake
wonderful.
you and say, "Get it together." And
It's like, put on your big girl panties.
exactly,
What she
exactly.
said.
So, are you ready for a rapid fire? Here we go.
Sure, sure.
What's the one skill every executive should possess?
Empathy.
Oh, I love that. How would you handle disagreements or conflicts within your team?
So usually there's a disagreement with my team because we didn't listen, right?
Mhm.
From either side. Again, it all boils down to communication. So the way that I try to handle conflict is I try to sit outside of myself and listen to the other person, take into consideration what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what their style is, what they're hearing, how they're hearing it, and then have a conversation and try to come to them on the way they'll best understand it. And hopefully
Oh,
the same thing happens with me, because we all have various different listening styles, the way we process differently.
mhm.
Um, and I think that's a gift to understand that and to use that tool to your advantage. So I try and
Absolutely.
handle that conflict. And listen, I'm human. Sometimes it doesn't always work, and I become not a monster, but I might be a little spontaneous in my response, and I shouldn't have been, right? I might have said, oh, I should have. But then I hope that my team or anyone that I have a communication with understands that I'm open to honest, direct conversation. I'm all about being honest and direct and authentic, and it's okay. It's okay for you to disagree with me, and it's okay for you to tell me that you disagree with me. But you have to tell me and be able to articulate to me intellectually why, not just because you feel it. I need to understand it from an actual, coming from a place of thought, and for you to be able to kind of articulate that to me. And then we can have that conversation.
I appreciate that.
And I also state, we have, particularly in production and production fight, we have heated conversations. There's no question. We have heated conversations, even in production, but I don't take them personally. I can have that heated conversation with you. We can come to a conclusion and we move on. And that's how you have to operate in this business.
Yeah, I remember working in a place where we had the war room. And that's where we had those conversations. It was in the war room,
In the
but it
war.
wasn't real war. It was just
Yeah, exactly.
diverse thoughts. Yeah.
Diverse thoughts and
Yeah.
ideas.
So I'm gonna give you the last question from Ramon, who asks, "What are the core skills you feel are important to succeed in production finance in within a studio?" That's the last question.
Yeah, well, so, it's in production finance, particularly today, people come from different modalities or trainings. Some totally corporate finance, CPA, many in the past, and still some come from the world of production, working in freelance, being a production accountant. If nothing else, you should understand budgeting and budgeting software. You should understand cost reporting and understand how systems work. Because in production finance, you are looking at and managing what the budget that's been created and how it's implemented within production, and helping them manage that budget to stay on point. If you do not understand the modalities of how that happens, how to do a budget, how to do a cost report, what's a general ledger looks like, you cannot understand the variances, the ups and downs, and managing of that. And you can't then communicate that to your team, your production accounting team. So you, first and foremost, you need to understand budgeting. You need to understand production budgeting, and cost reporting. And being, I always recommend, I think the stronger production finance executives have done a little time out in the field as a production accountant or a payroll accountant or a first or a second assistant accountant in production, understanding how production works and being on a set and being out with a crew and understanding how from soup to nuts we put together a project, be it television, film, unscripted, or what have you, understanding the nuts and bolts of all of that. And that's what's exciting for me. And that's why I love doing what I do, because I get to touch on every aspect of production, from creative down to post.
Valerie, can you believe we are literally 5 minutes over? That's just how amazing this conversation has been. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Valerie, thank you for the gift
Thank
of your
you for
time.
indulging me,
Oh
everybody.
my goodness, you are phenomenal. This was so good. So many helpful nuggets. Look at all the love that you're getting from all the emojis. It has been the most amazing 1 hour. I wish it wouldn't end. Um, thank you. Thank you for just being so vulnerable and being real and being the Valerie Spiller that we know. And I'm so glad that everybody got to enjoy this hour with you. To everybody who's joined us today, we hope this was worth your while, and we look forward to seeing you next time. I am Anne-Marie Burton. I'm your host today, and this is NAMIC, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Have a great evening.
Night.
Good night.